Like, you know, there goes my shoulder. I'm like, damn it, I was doing chest tomorrow.
Brian Cage, this AEW World Championship Eliminator. Into the tag. Cage, the powerbomb, and now that.
My name's Joe, host of the Lightweights podcast. Today we have wrestling superstar, AEW's Brian Cage.
Do it. 1, 2, 3.
How was the transition from Impact to AEW?
Oh, it's great. I mean, well, the fans of AEW.
That's exactly what happened to Ben.
I've always envisioned myself as a world champion in everything I do. And
We talk about his incredible wrestling career, fitness routine, his marriage to Melissa Santos. So if you haven't yet, give this video a like and make sure to subscribe. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being part of this journey. So without further ado,
The Machine, Brian Cage.
Brian Cage. You were talking about how you haven't been to the Bellagio buffet. When you go in, do you do damage?
oh yeah, for sure. So I had, you know what, too, and now, not as much. I haven't been to a buffet for a while. I've been wanting to go to one. Matter of fact, you're talking about that, right? The Wynn buffet, and but I don't feel like I can put as much down as I used to at once, like just because I don't like the way it feels. Before, like I guess I didn't care, but yeah, my very first time out in Vegas, I got a 24-hour buffet pass. That was the main thing I wanted to do.
They had those?
Yeah, it was awesome. There was like, I don't know, there's 7 or 9 different casinos that all work together. I mean, and so many buffets are closed here now after the pandemic. And like, yeah, within 24 hours, I did 4 of them. So it was worth it. Dude,
Wow.
the couple of them had some long waits, like the Paris line. Oh my God, that was like 2.5 hours. It was like a Disney World.
Yeah.
But I remember my record. I was on this
record.
I was on this crazy diet where it was like no fast, no carbs, whatever, for 2 weeks. And then I had this epic like refeed day. And I had it like in my diet what I was supposed to eat, but it was a bunch of food I had to go buy. And I'm like, if I'm not going to be able to eat that again, it's just for this day. I'm like, it's all going to go to waste. I'm not going to eat like a whole loaf of bread and a whole this. And, you know, it's just little bits of everything. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go to Golden Corral for $10 and sit there all day and eat. That's exactly what I did. So I was there for 6 hours. I showed up there with my friend post-workout. My buddy Drew, we ate for 2 hours. He left. Then I called my roommate there. This is when I was in Florida for and with FTW and WWE. So I called PJ Black, who's my roommate. He came down for about an hour and a half or something to help me eat. Then I called my buddy Spider, who's a referee, who's still there. And then he came down and we sat there for the remainder of it. So I just sat there, got my full day's worth of calories in 6 hours. It was no problem.
Do you ever get kicked out of buffets?
No, but I whenever I tell that story, actually I told one on one podcast long ago, and they actually made me a Golden Corral, what was it, 2008 Golden Corral buffet champion or whatever t-shirt. And that's funny now because I've gone to Golden Corrals like afterwards, and there's like taped up little signs, 2 hour limit max, 2 hour. I was like, not for me that day. No, there wasn't. I got the lunch and the dinner.
You had 2 of my favorite quotes that you really live by, where it's get in your underwear, look in the mirror. Would you pay money to see yourself on TV? And if you come out and you look like you belong in the crowd, you probably do. And those apply to more than just wrestling. Those rules apply to everything, which I think is so important to really fit the role. And you fit the role amazingly.
You know, and those quotes are quotes that I use from Steve Kern. Actually, it might have just been the underwear one. But regardless, yeah, and that's how I've always thought about it. Like I always want to be a wrestler, and everyone thinks I was just jacked always. I'm like, no, dude. I've told the story 1,000 times of me being 155 pounds when I graduated high school, and that's the same thing. I looked at myself and I go, this doesn't cut the mustard. Like I can't go on TV. Like I don't even want to go to a wrestling school unless I look ready and like, okay, this guy's legit. He wants it. You know what I mean? So, and I remember my first loop of doing like indie shows, like while I was training too, like not even wrestling. And my trainer asked me, and he goes, oh, so what do you guys think? You know, how was the weekend? And I go, man, not even being insulting. I was just like, oh, nobody really works out in the indies, huh? Like it just blew my mind. I'm like, how do you not look the part, be the part, act the part? Like it should be 110%, you know, every which way. But yeah, it was shocking. But yeah, so I, you know, like if I preach those quotes, I gotta live, you know, by what I say.
Why do you think it's not as popular as it used to be?
I don't know. I mean, I know this is just my flavor of ice cream, like my opinion of it. So I feel like a lot of people in AEW too, I feel like, the fans of AEW, I feel like relate to a lot of the non, you know, pro wrestler types, if you will. because they can relate to them, live vicariously through them. Because I know, like, right when I got there too, I got so much hate for, like, being a body guy coming out. I'm like, oh, forget this guy. He belongs in WWE, and we don't want him here, whatever. I'm like, what the heck? And then all it took is me, wearing some cartoon stuff, video game stuff, comic stuff, and now they're like, oh, he's a nerd too? Okay, now we do like him. But, yeah, it didn't make sense to me, and I don't know what the deal is. And, like, you don't have to, I always say this too at seminars, you don't have to be jacked up 300-pound guy. You don't have to look like me, but you should look like a professional athlete at the end of the day. There's plenty of guys who are smaller, because, obviously there's wrestlers in all shapes and sizes, but they still look like a professional athlete. And you have your exceptions to the rules. You have your Willie Max, you have your Kevin Owens, you have this and that, but your exception shouldn't make up the majority of your roster. Then it should be, those people. So, and like and some people say that, like when defense, like, oh, what about Kevin Owens? Like, yeah, but Kevin Owens is over there. That's his spot. You can't be Kevin Owens. You got to be yourself. You got, don't die on that. Big, oh, cool. I can, look like that and just wear basketball shorts and I can get over too. I'm like, I don't know if it works that way just because he did it.
Right. Is it because there's that one spot and he's doing it?
Well, yeah, and he got crapped on forever for doing it too. But obviously, Steiner is an exceptional talent. So, like, it's just not gonna, and how many overweight, out of shape guys in big t-shirts and basketball shorts I've seen? Oh, a crap ton. So many all over the place, So, and obviously they're not going anywhere. They're usually not that talented. Not to throw shade at anyone, but Steen is, and he made it work, and it works for him. And okay, it's cool. But like now that spot's there, so you can't have like Kevin Owens wouldn't stand out if there was 20 more Kevin Owens on the roster, So.
When you were in the Indies, did you work with anybody that you knew had that star factor, that you knew they were going places, and they're doing something now? Oh,
for sure. Well, and in the same aspect, there's guys that I thought had that it never happened for them too, unfortunately. But obviously, especially being PWG, like everyone there, you know what I mean? Like Ricochet. The first time I worked with Rich Swann, which was outside of PWG, I thought he was fantastic. A good buddy of mine who just retired, came out of retirement shortly, up in Reno, Adam Thorstow. I thought he always had it. And one of my original trainers, old school Oliver John, so good. Like when I go back to the body guy type of stuff too, this guy was in his 40s, he's been wrestling forever. Dude, he was jacked to the gills, looked in great shape. And he would take the craziest bumps still and everything. I'm like, dude, if this guy's doing it, and he worked a full-time overtime construction job too, like how's nobody else doing it? And it's a shame he never made it because he was so great. And second to only Dr. Tom was probably the best trainer I've ever rolled around with either too. Like, 'cause that's a totally different attribute rather than just being a good wrestler, is being able to be a good trainer too. And he was great at that. So unfortunately, it never took off for him, but he was amazing.
As a former world champion, what was the lifestyle like for you outside of wrestling? How did you step things up to really maintain that?
You know what? No, I don't think so because, I've always envisioned myself as a world champion in everything I do. And, I know, as Melissa even told you on her podcast, how meticulous I am and how structured I am. So like nothing changed. Like I've been go the whole time. It's almost like if a UFC fighter is working his ass off and he has this, specific camp and his training and everything, and they finally win the title, why would they go somewhere else now? Like, you know what I mean? Why would they change it? Like, oh, now I'm a champion, I should go here. Like, no, this is just what got you to the title. Why would you do anything different now? Like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So, like, yeah, there was nothing I did differently because there was no reason to. I was already going full tilt as it was. So
always 110% discipline.
Oh, totally. Like, and all of my slack days here and there, occasionally, but like, it's so hard for me not to. Like, I'm just so meticulous with everything. That's like. Just like when I tell people like they fall off on a diet, I'm like, the longer you stick to a diet or any sort of training regimen, like the longer you stick to it, the harder it should be anyways. The harder it is to fall off, because if you're gonna fall off, you should have fell off the first week. But now you've already put 2 weeks into it. Now you've put 3 weeks to it. Now you've got 6 weeks into it. So like the longer you stick to it, I feel like the more like, no, I don't want to screw it up now. I've already put this much time to it. Like Duolingo, I'm 28 days straight. I can't lose that streak. Now I got to keep going.
Were you always as disciplined right from the beginning, or did you have those fall off days?
You know what? Yeah, and I didn't even realize it. Like, and I knew some of my friends could notice it. And I was actually a big skateboarder too in high school and afterwards. And I remember my discipline on like, if I couldn't nail this trick, I would be there for hours until I'd nail it. But I always wanted to be a wrestler since I was 10, and I would tell everybody that. And a lot of people. Well, the few that did believe me could just see my passion and my dedication to like, what I really want to do. Like, oh, you'll for sure make it. And I didn't realize that until like just little small feats like would happen where, my discipline would just take over. So I went to 3 different WWE shows as a fan.
How old were you?
19, probably 19, 20. I was friends with Canyon too, so I think we got them all comped as well. So we were driving down from Chico, which is far up north in California. And on the last loop of shows, they're all down in SoCal. We're just running low on funds. And I remember we went and got pizza and to have enough money for gas and everything else the next day. I'm like, all right, well, let's not get soda then to save a few bucks. And I remember, and it's not like pizza's healthy, right? But I remember this is when I was like trying to put on more weight too. And I could eat so much more pizza because I'm not full up on soda and the carbonation, the sugar and all the, I was like, that's just empty calories. That doesn't do anything for you. So I was like, dude, I'm never drinking soda again. And I never drank soda again, just like that. It was that easy.
Wow.
And I just started working at the movie theater and we got free soda, which was awesome, I thought. But then, I just turned it off and I didn't, like that. And that was like looking back when the eye opened, he's like, dude, it was like a light switch. I was like, oh, sweet. I won't do that again. And then that's all it took. Like as soon as I just got into something, the rhythm of something or wanted to do something, I could just like switch it on and then it was like go time.
Wow. So you knowing that it just didn't benefit you was just like, I'm done with it.
I was like, whoa. Wait a minute, there's no perk to that? I go, oh, okay, well then forget it. It's over with. And now I can't stand soda, even though I love sweets, but it's so, like I've drinking Sprite before when I think it's water and I'm like, oh my God. And also, I can't handle carbonation. Anything carbonated now, I hate it. My stomach does not enjoy it. So, which is crazy because that's like a little trick that a lot of people do with like extreme dieting because the carbonation will help you feel fuller. But no, I can't stand it. I can't drink carbonation now.
How many grams of protein do you have a day?
You asked that too, Melissa. I have minimum 300 grams of essential protein too. So I don't count protein from like oatmeal or peanut butter or vegetables or whatever.
Straight chicken protein sources.
Yes, exactly. Full amino acid spectrum protein, at least 300 grams a day. And I don't eat as much as I used to. There's an unwritten rule where it's like everything you do, it takes twice as much to gain with food, supplements, working out, everything, and then half as much to maintain. So I've been trying to get bigger or stronger or anything for quite some time. So I just coast.
How often do you put your chicken in a blender and drink it?
Never. I've never done it once. I love chicken. Absolutely love it. That's one thing too. I've never not enjoyed eating the food I make. And I'm not some A+ chef either. But like, no, I could eat chicken, steak, eggs, and protein shakes all day, every day. No problem.
How was your time at WWE Developmental?
Dude, I loved it. It was my dream, to be a wrestler. And I told everyone, by the time I'm 24, I will absolutely be in WWE. That was my goal. And I was sticking to it. And when I was 24, I got signed in WWE. So did I go on to main event WrestleMania? No, that was somebody else's story. But, I still proved it right. And so I didn't fail in that aspect. But no, it was a great time down there. Like I said, I got to work with Dr. Tom. I actually was in developmental in Deep South Wrestling before I was signed too. That's where I met Dr. Tom. And I was with Bill DeMott briefly before that. But yeah, it was a phenomenal roster at FTW when I was down there.
Yeah, who else was in that class with you?
Oh my gosh. Wade Barrett, Sheamus, Swagger, TJ Natty, Tyson Tarver, PJ Black, Heath Slater, the Bellas.
Did you roll with them?
Everyone, yeah. I mean, Byron Saxton. I mean, there's so many people. So like everyone there, like that was a really good class for sure. I had Del Rio's first match when he came in developmental. Lance was there for a minute. There's so many people. Being
in an environment like that, 24/7, surrounded by the same people who have the same goals and dreams and aspirations as you, did it make you level yourself up?
For sure. It was overwhelming too. Like even though I felt a little more comforted because like I knew Dr. Tom and I knew some of these guys from Deep South because I was in Deep South too, uncontracted through basically the help of Canyon. And so I was really nervous and I felt like I was like the not the new kid in class, but like the outsider. So I'm like, and I never really felt like I fully blossomed into like what I normally would be because I wasn't like 100% comfortable. I had moments. But there, I was still pretty taken back and like a little like overly nervous. Like, and then I remember, I don't know, maybe after a couple months, I just started putting on killer performances and everyone was like, wow, you've gotten so good so fast. Like, no, I'm just comfortable now, so I could just be myself and actually do what I do. So, but yeah, everyone there was great, and obviously, you know, for certain people, we didn't realize how great or how much of an impact they would end up having. But yeah, no, I super enjoyed my time there. The coaches, Steve Kern, Norman Smiley, became a great friend of mine. Dr. Tom, it was awesome.
Are there any notes or feedback that you got from people that really stuck out to you that kind of altered the way that you were approaching?
Dusty was there too. Dusty had helped me with
Dusty Rhodes?
Yeah, with my promos. And we had this cool superhero, and then was going to turn to a super villain character when Hurricane came back. That he really helped create. That was a lot of fun. I mean, in far as like in ring work, like, I mean, yeah, there's still plenty of like stuff that you learn, but it wasn't, I guess, anything that was like a specific, like, oh yeah, I really got to do that. I remember I got really good at calling it all in the ring too, because I have a great memory, really great memory. Like, I can spit a match out and remember it all within 5 minutes, and not have to like repeat it, go over anything, nothing. So, but to be able to do both was great, because it didn't matter. Like, somebody's like, oh, you want to go? Okay, cool. You want me to call it all? Okay, cool. Do you want to like plan a bunch of crazy spots? Okay, cool. So, and that was one thing too I tried to be, was just like a very versatile wrestler in that regard.
Do you prefer to have it all planned out in your head prior?
I mean, for the bigger stuff, absolutely, especially for TV too. And I'll tell you why TV's harder, because TV, you're very limited on a lot of things, especially time. So if I'm having a show at an indie match, and you guys are the main event, it's like whatever, because you can just play around with it. That's, again, too, not only were they not doing as much, back in the day, and going on that too, all sports evolve. I mean, look at X Games, 20 years ago compared to now, it's ridiculous. But so I think all things evolve, but also too, it was the style then, and if you're out there having a 60-minute Broadway match, of course you could just call it live. It's easy.
What's a Broadway match?
That's when it's a time limit draw. Like, I'm just throwing something out there. Of course you can just call it and go, and kill up a lot of time, because you're not going to memorize 60 minutes. But when you got 5 minutes of live TV time, and it's got to be this, it's so much harder. You can't call it because it's so limited. Like, especially what eats the most time. Like, so if you just chain wrestle, there's like the whole stuff at the beginning. I don't know why, but time it goes by like it's the snooze button. It goes by so fast. You're like, okay, cool, we'll rest for a little bit. We'll run this spot. We'll get here. Okay, cool. You're resting. All right, guys, 1 minute. You guys got to go. You're like, what? We haven't even done anything yet. You're like, oh. So, yeah, it's hard in that regard, because you got to have it like, okay, cool. Even then, though, like, I don't ever go and plan out my matches. Like, I don't rehearse anything. I don't try anything. Like, I very rarely ever go to the ring to like, unless it's some crazy move or somebody feels really comfortable, I usually just talk about it real quick. And even then, it's like usually right before the match. And then it's usually go time. Because there's still, audibles, and there's still improvisation throughout the ring. But yeah, if you just go, okay, what do we do at the beginning? Okay, cool, I'll cut you off with this. Hey, I'll give you a false. All right, I'll do these 2 falses. Okay, this is the finish? Okay, cool. And then you can kind of just fill in the rest. When
you're doing a televised match versus a non-televised match, are you very conscious of the camera?
I definitely am less conscious of it on a non-televised match, for sure. But I still try to, like, there's still like usually a hard cam set up and whatnot. But
are you trying to position yourself?
Yeah, to work the hard camera, for sure. But though I will play with the audience more in a live event, because again, you have more freedom, a little more structure, and that kind of creates that atmosphere that separates itself too. Because everyone wants to go to like TV tapings or live TV events, because it's like a big spectacle, it's a big event. But then, like, when it's a non-televised event like that, or like an indie show or whatever, then you get that little more intimate feel that separates itself, which some people like more or have more. Like a buddy of mine was just at this Florida indie I did, and he loved it, and especially my interaction with the crowd, and then like before the match, after the match, going to everyone. Whereas TV, it's great, and I come out there, but it's just there and back, and I don't break character, and I'm not saying hi to any of the fans. It's just, it is what it is. So there is definitely a difference between the two. And some people like, obviously the spectacle is great for those people who don't know wrestling. But I think if you're more into wrestling, sometimes you can have more fun at a non-televised event.
What I was so excited to talk to you about, just in general, is because how passionate you are about wrestling, and that you still love doing the indie shows and getting that fix.
Oh, for sure.
Performing. What's your favorite part of the overall match with wrestling? Is it the prep, going into it, coming out to the crowd, the hearing that 1, 2, 3?
The crowd's reaction during the match. That's my favorite part. That's the high and the amp that you get from it for sure. Like, and especially during like the pandemic too, when we had no fans, then when we could slowly start to do some indie shows that had fans, you're like, oh yes, please and thank you. But like, yeah, that is my fix. And if I don't get to have like, I was like, a Brian Cage match or what, a match I really want to sink my teeth into as opposed to like a 5 or 6 minute TV match. Yeah, it gets you, and you want that high, you want that fix. And I feel like too, also, it's like, if you don't use it, you lose it. I feel like if I go too long without being able to perform at a higher level or a longer match or, more complicated structure or whatever it is, it's almost like, oh man, I haven't done this for a while. Can I still do this? So, yeah, like the match I just had recently, I absolutely loved it. And when you go out there and you get to go and just perform at your best, and there's a lot less stress usually too, because it's not TV, and so it's more fun, and that's what it all is. We all got into wrestling because we love it, and it's fun, and it should be fun. And the day it becomes just a job and not fun, like that's that sucks. And the fact that I'm able to do both is great, because like I don't have to do indies, and I still have a good time at AEW. But the fact that I still can do indies is great.
What do you think the worst offer you ever got to do an indie show was, and you still accepted it because you love doing it?
Oh man, there's a bunch. I mean, my first year, too, when people say like, oh, the struggle. My first year, I think I get paid $20 to wrestle maybe twice or something. Like, and every show was, hours away from me because I was way up in Northern California.
So it didn't even cover gas for you to get down there.
No, not at all. Not even back then. And then, even when I went to FCW and I was signed, I'm a signed WWE wrestler, right? Even it's developmental. I'm under WWE contract, getting a salary. And then when I got released from there, I went back to the indies, and I was in SoCal, which I had done a lot down there. And I'm almost begging to get on shows. I'm back to making $20 to $40 a show. And I'm like, this is hard pill to swallow. But I was like, you know what? Whatever. I'm going to do it, and I'll bust my ass. I'm going to make that $60, then $75, then and so on and so forth. And that's exactly what happened.
Would you work the crowd too afterwards, like in between for the intermissions to try and meet the fans?
Oh, absolutely. You got to go out there and hustle and sell the merch and everything else. And but also when you're not as overwhelmed, then you're not usually, selling as much. But it's all part of the journey and all part of the hustle and the grind. And I appreciate it all. And it's been a lot of ups and downs and a lot of hardships, but it helps create the person you become, and then you appreciate so much more once you finally get there, like so much more, and it definitely keeps you more in a humble aspect. And I'm not a big spender on things, and I live a pretty frivolous life, so I'm very blessed and fortunate with a lot of the opportunities that has presented themselves to me from then. And I definitely feel like I would love to not have had so many struggles or hardships on the way to making it, but at the same time, I don't know that I would really want to change a whole lot.
It's so interesting to think about, because at the end of the day, you really only have one night a week for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes to really harness your craft. And then it goes back to training. So if you think about it, if you do it every weekend, it's only 50 times a year that you really get to work on it.
I was always working the indies, but 16 through 19 was probably like the most booming indie period ever. Like,
how often were you wrestling?
Oh my gosh, I was wrestling 4 times a week.
For even during the week?
Yeah.
For what?
There was Wednesdays and Thursday shows like crazy. Dude, sometimes I'd have a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday show, and Saturday would be the day off. Like, more than once that had happened.
I'm so crazy. Wrong.
Dude, so no, we wrestle a little less now. But no, throughout that time period, that's why I was saying this. Dude, yeah, I was wrestling 4 times a week. And it's indie shows too a lot. So we're not doing a WWE loop where it's San Antonio, Dallas, Austin, no. I'm in Washington, then I'm in freaking Fort Lauderdale, Florida, then I'm in New York, then I'm in Chicago, then I go back home for California, then I'm like, then I'm in New Mexico. So you were all over the place. So those were always the red eyes and the 5 a.m. flights and never sleeping. It was awful, but I'd still get it in. I'd get my meals and I'd get my training in. So
do you remember when promotions first started flying you out?
That was so great. I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait till my first flight, right? And then it's funny because then once you start flying out, that's the absolute worst part of the job. That's the only part of the job that absolutely sucks is the travel. I'm like, terrible.
What attracted you to the big body guys when you were a kid?
Well, way back in the day.
Was it just the larger than life?
So 80s, early 90s. Everyone's gimmick was I'm a 300-pound, ginormous human being.
I loved it too.
Yeah. Because I was a big comic fan too, right? And I remember the first time I saw it, I was 5 years old, and my mom's friend was in town, and we were going to meet her at her hotel, and it was on the TV. And I can't recall exactly who it was on TV. But this would have been like 89 then. And I don't even know if she was watching it or if it was just on in the background. But I remember seeing it and just being like mesmerized. Like, what is this? What, like this real life superheroes? What is this? What's going on right now? So that's what really set it apart. And I was like, oh man. And I never thought I was going to be like some big guy. Like I thought I was going to look more like Chris Benoit, not Big Papa Pump, if that makes sense. You know, just from like my structure and everything growing up. So, and I was never bodybuilding. Like everything that came from bodybuilding too. I only started doing bodybuilding stuff like in the middle, like between 2012 through 2015. While I was wrestling every week anyways.
You're a wrestler who also does bodybuilding.
Yeah, that's right. I would say I'm not a bodybuilder trying to be a wrestler. I'm a professional wrestler that just happens to bodybuild. So
you've had a match with Scott Steiner.
I have. Well, not against him, but I've teamed with him, yeah.
How was that?
Oh, it was great. And, dude, Scotty loves me. I love Scott. I just saw him at WrestleCon. And it's such like a body guy thing. I remember the first time I met him, like I had seen him at, different conventions, just like, oh, hi, whatever. We were on a show together in Bay Area of California, and I'm backstage and I'm talking. And it's funny, it was actually me, Masters, and Steiner are all on the same show too.
Epic.
Right? That's a freaking throwback. And I'm just sitting there talking to somebody, and he just looks at me and goes, hey, kid! And I look at him and goes, what do you do for those traps? And I'm like, shrugs? And he goes, nah, I mean like, how many sets? How many reps? What are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know, 3 of this, 3. Like I start talking. He goes, you want to go work out tomorrow? And I was like, oh, dude, I'd love to, but I have PWG tomorrow. I have to go down to LA. And he goes, all right. And then he went and just talking to me about, why I wasn't signed anywhere, who I was working with. And then the reason, I was like, oh, well, I was WWE and I was here. And then he just started burying. Then he buried Triple H and Stephanie. Then he buried TNA. Then he buried, like, it was awesome. It was just getting like a shoot interview from Steiner. And then when I was in Impact and now TNA, when I first got there and they brought Steiner in too, I remember, and catering wasn't bad, but I was eating the catering and he looks at me and goes, hey, Cage. I'm like, oh, what's up? And he goes, man, I ain't eating that shit. You want to eat some of this? Look, pick this up. And I went over there. He goes, yeah, here, come on, eat some of this with me. And I just sat there for lunch. And then I really got a shoot interview. So I was asking him questions. And he was talking to me for like, gosh, maybe 30 or 60, 90 minutes. But yes, whenever I'm around him, I'm always a big fan of him. And actually, Braun Breaker, too, before he even got into wrestling, would message me a few times and was a big fan of mine because Steiner was a big fan of mine. And then also because of my athleticism and my physique and how that all, rolled. And he's killing it, man. He's doing awesome.
What other interactions have you had with these other big body guys?
With big body? Well, I mean, it's funny. Like, we were just at WrestleCon, right? And it's so funny because, the vast majority, not even like old school guys, even people like in the 2000s, but they always come up to me and they'll sing my praises or put me over, and then they always ask like, I don't know how you're not the top guy, and because they see me and see what I look like and what they look like, and they're like, this should be it. And I toot my own horn as far as looking like that, but then being able to go like everyone else can go, like in the modern day, so to speak. But I mean Tony Atlas, whenever he sees me, always puts me over hard. Who knows over the top about it, which cracks me up. It's always like too much. Is Bill Alfonso like loses his mind every time. Oh, Daddy, looking good, Daddy. Look at you, look at them arms. Look at cracks me up. But like, yeah, it's great when all these legends will say this to me. And I remember, like, I usually don't get like starstruck with everybody, and I would love to take pictures with so many, but I always felt like it's so weird to be like in the business and be like, oh, can I have a picture? I don't know. And the same thing. I'd met Mick Foley, before and in passing. But I remember he was at a Warrior Wrestling show, and I get in, I put my stuff down, I see him. And he gets up, and I like turn around, and I see him walking towards me. And then he's like, "Oh, hey, Brian, pleasure to meet you." And I popped pretty good inside for that one. I'm like, the fact that Mick Foley just got up across the room and walked over to me to greet me by my name, I was like, that was pretty epic. I was like, that was cool.
If you could have any match with any legend, what's his stipulation and who is it?
Well, okay, so the real world dream match has always been AJ Styles, because he can still go. That's too. Actually, I used to be tag team partners with LA Knight for quite a few years, and so a lot of people were asking me like, oh, like if I'd be like jealous of him being at WrestleMania or his success, or like, no, not at all. But I was a little bit jealous he got to work AJ Styles, because like I realized that's a match that's probably not going to happen, and I was like, damn. But if I could do anyone, then there's so many. I mean, I would obviously primetime Shawn Michaels. He's my all-time favorite. When you say anything too for people who have passed, like I instantly think of like Savage as well. that'd be a really fun match. And I wouldn't want. There doesn't need to be any stipulations, just because I feel like just having a regular match would be enough for sure. And sometimes stipulations take away from like the chemistry and the art and storytelling you can put into the ring.
Having a tag team with LA Knight, what was your guys' relationship outside the ring?
Oh, we were cool. We were cool. You know, I don't think we ever trained together. I remember I wanted to quite a few times, but no, I liked him a lot. And it's funny, he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, like whether it be NW Hollywood or just SoCal, and even in Impact, or there'd be a lot of different people that would like not be the biggest fan of him. And I get it. Like I've never had a problem with Sean. I've always liked Sean, but he does have this like almost like a smug attitude. But it's not. He doesn't have a smug attitude, but it comes across that way. Like he's not doing anything like to be an asshole, but it definitely comes across like he just thinks he's better than everybody else. But if you get to know him, you realize it's not that way. It's just how he is. But it can come across deceivingly, kind of like he's better than everyone else, which isn't the case at all.
How often do you keep up with other promotions, even in the indies, to see who's up and coming?
You know what? Especially the indies, I was more so, but now it's pretty rare. Because too, when I do take indie matches, the first question I ask is, who am I working? If they go, hey, what's your rate and availability? I go, no. Who am I working? Because if it's not a match I'm excited for, I don't want to have it. It's like I would say, like, look, I want to get on the plane excited and stoked to go get that high, to go chase that wrestling high, that fix, and make it mean something and worth being away from home, away from my family. I was like, many times I've been this way, but I'm past that where I don't have to get on the plane going, oh, why did I take this booking? I don't want to be, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want that feeling at all. I want to be stoked for it. So if it's somebody that I have no idea or no interest, or because a lot of times too, I'd be flown out to work, some local promotion and against, their big bruiser, their heavyweight champion or whatever, some big guy. And unfortunately, that's why I would get a bad rep too. A lot of these big guys, and it wasn't always muscular, it was usually just, overweight guy, usually can't go. And so, like, they can't have the match I want to go. And I'm like, it's not going to be fun. And I actually even thought about that with the first time I worked Keith Lee, because I didn't know who Keith Lee was, and he hadn't blown up yet. And I was like, who am I working? I go, and the guy's like, oh, no, he's pretty good. He's athletic. I'm like, okay, great. Here we go. It's going to be some big, 400-pound guy that freaking is going to blow up and drag his feet, and I can't do anything with. Obviously, I was very wrong about that. We killed it. And there was like 26 people there. There was like nobody there, but we had probably one of my favorite matches too. It was so good. And there was like a 3.5-minute highlight clip of it. I don't know why just the highlights, never the full match, but it's gone now. And it's a bummer because I really like that match with us. But yeah, that's what it would take for me to get on a plane and go fly wrestle somebody now, is I have to have an interest and desire to want to work with them. So I was trying to keep up with it more often, but I don't as much now. But when somebody, I still watch plenty of highlights and clips and stuff in wrestling stuff on Instagram. So when I see somebody that catches my eye, I'll go search them and look around. Like what's his name? Is it Leon Slater? The guy just signed with Impact or TNA from the UK. I was watching a lot of his stuff for quite a while before, when he does that Swanton 450. Have you seen it? It's unbelievable. He goes out like a crazy Swanton, and last minute he tucks into a 450. It's great.
How does a wrestler do the indie booking? Do they normally handle it themselves, or do they have agent handle it?
There's a lot of people that have agents, and it's really so they don't have to deal with it, and they can kind of weed them out and whatever else and get more for it. And I've had agents get me bookings, but I like to handle it myself. Just again too, because I'm so meticulous with my schedule, and I know, like, and I'm always looking for 2 birds, 1 stone. So like, I'm like, all right, cool. If I'm here, I don't have to travel home and travel back here, and I can link these 2 up, and then that gym's there. Oh, my friend's here. Oh, and then we get the meal prep. Okay. Like, I can line it all up to make it make sense and make it worthwhile. So, like, say if it's not something I really want to do, but then there's enough bonus reasons to make sense of it, I'm like, okay, cool, then let's do that. So
the first step is, who are you working with?
Absolutely.
And then the second step is, how much and what are the dates?
You know what, too? Like, I mean, well, how much and definitely when is the dates, but also where it is too. It's because that'll play a role as far as, do I want to travel there? Is it hard to travel there? Is it easily connected to wherever I'm at for AEW before or after? Is it a city or a place I like? Those are the little perks.
Are the bookings normally weeks out in advance?
Oh, I mean, yeah,
Months?
I have people asking me, for dates at the end of the year right now. I'm always like, whoa, guys, hold on. I don't even know what's, like, I have no idea what I'm doing, or AEW, like, it's hard. Like, I try not to go farther out than 3 months. And even that's pretty far out. But, like, that's usually typically as far as I try to go out, unless it's something like very, very, very specific, like World Series of Wrestling. I'm going at the end of June to tour in Australia. This will be my 10th time going out there. Absolutely the most fun I've ever done. The best, not just only the best international tour, but just like, oh my God, that place is so well ran. And Adrian knows, if he sees this, everyone puts it over. And I tell everyone there, wherever they're going, like how great this tour is. And they're always still shocked and amazed how great it was. They're like, dude, you put it over so hard, but it was even that much better than what you said it was. Like, it's fantastic. So something like that, like, yeah, like, you know, if I got those dates in October and it's like, oh, June 28th, we're happening. Like, okay, cool, boom, blocked. Like, that's for sure, you know. And also, though, it's because I've also worked with them. That plays a role, too. If it's somebody I've worked with before and I know, then that'll help kind of ease it. If somebody I've never worked with at a company I've never been to, a city I've never been to, there are all these new variables. I'm like, well, hold on, let's see.
Is a draw for the crowd ever a concern for you? Or is that kind of low on the list?
No, I mean, I would hope there'd be a draw. I mean, if it's, like I said, if it's a really, you know, nobody knows this place.
Brand new.
I've asked, like, yeah, well, hey, what's your draw like, too? Like, same thing, yeah. I don't want to go to a show that no one's going to be there at. But normally speaking, I usually know of, or at least can just see, like, okay, these guys, you know, do a pretty good show. It's not their first time out there, so.
Mingling with the fans after the matches, do you have a pretty good idea of how much photos and action figures and anything else you're trying to sell to bring with you?
Yeah, and again, too, that'll vary place by place on, you know, where you're going and also who you're working with. But like, yeah, the one I just did right now, I was like, all right, I don't want to bring too much stuff. I'm like, but I almost sold every single thing I had.
Is that its own suitcase?
This one I was able to mangle it all into, like, I mean, well, I bring always tons of bags anyways, because I'll have like all my bag full of supplement workout stuff. Then I'll have my wrestling gear bag. Then I'll have my food bag, and then I was able to put all my merchandise on one side and then my regular clothes on the other side in the big bag. So
you obviously have the check stuff.
Oh yeah. Unless it's a one day there and back to AEW, yeah, I usually always check a bag.
Do you ever lose it?
Yes. And it's terrible. It's awful, especially when I have like everything in there and it's like oh, yeah, I've been taking these supplements for 6 weeks now. It's not going to be whatever the case is. I'm like, no, or like the right food or what, like, oh, it kills me.
How detrimental is an injury to your career?
Oh my God, so much. I hate. And you know, it's funny too. The first thought always in my head right when I get hurt in a match is like, you know, there goes my shoulder. I'm like, damn it, I was doing chest tomorrow. Like, I was like, I've got to do something else. But yeah, no, and I've been hurt so much. I mean, even just recently, I had a couple back-to-back injuries. Like I tore my lat, and then I tore my teres major off the bone too. January 2nd, right at the beginning of the year. But I just taped the hell of it, and you know, talked to the trainer there, and I was like, look, I don't want to get surgery. I'm not going to go out. Like, let's just keep going. So it wasn't fun, but and it definitely limited me quite a bit. And then actually, I also tore my knee in October, and it was a bummer too because I was actually supposed to wrestle Kenny Omega, like last minute out of nowhere. I was actually on that tour in Australia, and I hurt my knee that the same day he asked me to come back. He goes, hey, could you fly in and switch your flight to come to Toledo, Ohio to work? He wanted me to work on Collision to get a big win and cut a promo challenging Kenny on Dynamite that Wednesday. I'm like, oh, hell yeah. Because like, I don't want to fly from Australia after being out there for 2 weeks to Toledo to wrestle, like all on the same day. And I was like, oh, but fine, yeah, I will. It's my job. And then when he told me that, then there we go. Now I'm excited about it. Like, yeah, I get to work Kenny afterwards. Like, hell yeah. But then I even flew out there still, and they tried to take me up and get it passed, but it wasn't going to happen.
You got to work out with Kai Greene?
Plenty of times. I've worked out with Kai Greene so many times.
Is he in pain from being as large as he was?
No. We there's a video of us two in the ring, training together in the ring. And you know, it's funny because he can move his body so well and has such good control. I thought he would do way better than he did. I mean, I'll say this for someone who's never been in the ring, doesn't watch wrestling. He's running there for, 90 minutes. And like, I mean, I guess you put all that stuff together. He was, he did rather well. He was terrified of just taking a back bump though. Terrified. But yeah, no, Kai Greene's great. He's such a great dude. I've worked out so many times, and he was my favorite modern day bodybuilder before I even started getting into bodybuilding. And the first show, which was the second show I did, that I won like the overall, he was the guest presenter and the guest poser.
Oh, wow.
So cool that like 8 years prior, he was giving me a trophy. We got a picture together, and now we're working and on the same supplement team doing videos together. I'm like, this is awesome. So,
I went to a bodybuilding show once, and he was the guest poser there. I had no idea what I was getting into, and I'm in the crowd by myself, and this guy just comes in and takes his shirt off. Everyone's going nuts for him, just going like this.
Oh yeah, he looks great like year round too. Like even when he's not in like bodybuilding contest shape, he always looks great.
Do you think that's one of the harder aspects of being a wrestler, that it is all year long you have to be on?
Oh, for sure. Like some Uber driver just asked me, he's like, "Oh, when do you have time off?" I go, "Never." He goes, "What? You don't take time off?" I go, "When you get hurt, yeah, then you get some time off." But I was like, "No, it's year long. It's year long." So, yeah, between all the wrestling and for me too with all the training and the travel again too, the travel wears you down so much too, where just the lack of sleep or always in different time zones and just I don't know how that is till you get off a plane and I feel worse than I did like after a match. I'm like, oh my gosh, how this plane just beat me up worse than that 20-minute match we had last night.
Is someone of your size the traveling the hardest part of it?
I mean, I don't think it's just because of my size. That doesn't help. But, I mean, yeah, traveling just sucks anyways. I said, like, that was you can't wait till you get flown out. And then after that, you're like, ugh, I hate this. Like, when Melissa always wants to go on a vacation, I'm like, dude, the vacation is just not having to go anywhere. Like, it's hard for me to want to go somewhere, to go, fly somewhere else. And even then, I'd like, when we have, I'm like, all right, cool, look, I'm in, Tampa this week for whatever show. I'm like, can you just fly over, meet me in Miami, and we'll go on a cruise? Like, I don't want to fly home to fly back. It's like, that's miserable. I don't want to do that.
Right. Do you always have to sit in a larger seat, first class?
I mean, I get upgraded a lot because of my status, or I'll have like, the extended rows. But like, yeah, there's times like just because the flight got chosen or booked late, just the other week. So I had it was a window seat still. But it was just like in the regular,
You must be crammed in there.
It sucks, especially my big food bag and stuff. I'd like, I'm not claustrophobic at all, so I can get everything situated, and I'll just sit there, and like I know I can't move at all. I never want to get up to go pee just because it's so hard to like maneuver everything back up. I'm like, I'll just stay here until we land, and then I'll get up. So yeah, it's a little bit of a pain.
Yeah, being the same size, I feel.
Right. Oh, dude, and then no window seats. I hate that. Like the window seat without the window, where it's just a wall. So you get like one of these guys.
Yes,
like,
you're leaning forward.
Yeah.
When you get signed to AEW, is it a docu-sign, or is it like a bigger thing?
Oh yeah,
like,
no.
This is your contract.
Yeah, it's a full contract. Yeah.
But is it like a moment, or is it just like, hey, dude, congrats, here you go?
Oh well, I mean, definitely when I signed to WWE because that was the first contract I had. That was a huge moment. Since again, that was my goal when I was 24. Like, I had my friend taking pictures. I absolutely loved it.
What year was that?
2008.
Okay.
Every other contract I've gotten, whether it be Impact, Lucha Underground, AEW, whatever, weren't all awesome and didn't mean something. But I mean, yeah, it's so great. Like, and I think too, obviously, it matters on what your contract is as well, as far as what you're signing for and all the different terms, and so that can create more or less excitement, I guess, per se. But I mean, yeah, I've been blessed that I've been under contract with somebody now for quite a long time. So
what's your plans once this contract is up?
Well, I got a pretty long one. That's the reason why I stayed with AEW instead of going to WWE. I went back and forth last year. This came out, and I don't know why it came out like as if I just signed. Everybody's like, "Oh, congratulations!" Like, no, I signed last year, but it just came. I don't know, whatever. But I'm in a perfect world. I would love to. I mean, at that time, my tenure at AEW would have been so long. I would love to just stay on board, and I guess we'll see where my health's at, my energy's at. I mean, I would love to still be wrestling. So if I stayed there for another 5 years or something, whether it be part-time wrestler, full-time wrestler, agent, whatever, and then I would love to just end the career in that regard.
Was there an offer from other companies?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So, and even before I signed with AEW, there's tons of offers too. So you got to like kind of play with it. I remember when I first signed with AEW as well, like, it was, it was the new hot thing, and there's so many matches that I'd never had and that I wanted. And funny enough, there's a lot of those matches I haven't had yet. So like, I'm like, man, there's still so many matches and things I want to do there. So I have plenty of stuff to do there. And yeah, now at this time, like I don't see myself going anywhere else just because, again, how long I've been there and how long my contract's for and everything else, it makes sense to stay put, and I would be happy with that.
Your contract is about 6 years more, right?
Yeah.
Do you negotiate that yourself, or
No, I did have an agent. The first time I ever used an agent was this contract. It's always been myself every
with
other time.
AEW?
With the first contract with AEW, the contract with Lucha, Impact, WWE. It's always been me, and I finally used an agent this last time.
Do you think that was a smarter choice?
Yeah, for sure. And I lucked out too. Actually, a guy in town by the name of Bobby. He actually hit me up when I was on TV for a while, and he was talking to me, and too, like, he hit me up, and I thought, he's full of crap, and I met him, and he's such a cool dude. He's actually a great sports agent. Has clients from all the major leagues.
People you recognized?
Yeah, and we didn't have any wrestlers, and he was a big wrestling fan, a big fan of mine. He goes, I'd love to be able to represent you and stuff. And I go, well, my deal is coming up pretty soon or soon enough. Like, we can touch base as it comes there and see what we could do together, and it worked out.
I don't want to pry too much because in my field, I feel like it is more important to have a manager deal with those negotiations. What did they, and if you don't want to respond, it's okay. What did he really help in your benefit? Was it the finances? Was it the length of the contract? Were there any other things that you really wanted?
It was a little bit of everything. It included some bonus, like DVD, like little bonus menu stuff. So I basically talked to him as much as I went back and forth, and so I thought, like, okay, maybe that's as far as I'm gonna go, and then, like, let me tag him in and see if he can add anything on to it. So
with his knowledge and expertise.
Yeah. So I feel like I got a little bit of almost everything with him.
Oh, that's great. That's so cool. What do you think was the most important match of your indie career?
Oh, in the indies, man, that's a tough one.
Was there one moment that just really got you over, or something that really changed the way that you?
Obviously PWG for sure, and these I don't know if there's one moment in PWG, but just being in PWG, and then for a while there too, I was like red hot. But that definitely helped me get over everywhere. And it's crazy to think too, I'm working in this little Legion Hall, and then I'm flying into Canada and flying across the states, and everybody knows my taunts and chants and everything else. I'm like, what? This is epic. So that for sure, it'd definitely be any match from that. I think like my match with Eddie Edwards and Roger Strong definitely stand out to me there. I had plenty of amazing matches, but like I felt like it really elevated like the crowd getting over with me. And I think the first time it was DDT4, it was me and Ryan Taylor versus it was the Rockness Monsters. And I think that was the first time too I did some really cool stuff, and when I did more agile stuff. Even I told them I was gonna do this double springboard moonsault deal, and they all laughed. Like I thought I was just messing around, And I was like, "Well, no, I'm serious." You go like, "What?" Like, and they're like, "No, you're not." I go, "Yeah." And they go, "You can't do that." I go, "Yeah, I can." And they're like, "What?" And I remember when I did it and I landed on him. It was on Johnny Goodtime or Kevin now, but he laughed, or no, he didn't laugh. He like popped with excitement. I was like, he goes, "That was fucking awesome!" I was like, "Yeah, I told you I could do it. What the hell?" And I think that's what really set me up. Because actually, that got me so over. I got a shot against Kevin Steen for the world title the following show. So, do
you practice those in training, or is that hey, if I'm going to do this, I'm doing this in front of a crowd?
Oh no. So like when I do like crazier aerial stuff, I remember I do it all the time. Not all the time, but I remember just messing around, and I just never did it in a match. So that's why a lot of people I guess didn't know I could do certain things. And then now it's weird because I do want to practice it, and I used to do everything so much more, especially in the indies. That was getting me over. But then I dialed it back. I think I've done 2 dives in AEW. But it is a thing where if you don't do it, going back to it, I feel like you don't use it, you lose it. Where it's or at least you lose confidence in how well you can do it, or can you nail it every time, So there's definitely a can I do this still? I think I can, but oh, maybe not. Where I would if I wasn't do that one, I definitely would like to go do it on a crash pad first, just to make sure my confidence level is there to be able to do it.
Has anyone ever tried stiffing you from a payment in the indies?
Or
is it pretty fair?
Yeah, no. There's been a couple there's been a lot of accidental stuff for sure. That just happens.
Right.
But yeah, I think there's been a couple times where if I let somebody in and something, they hit me back. But it's never I've never got a problem for it. And even then, if I blast somebody, even if it's on accident, and I know I rock them, I'm like, ooh, and sometimes you'll say sorry. And then so say if they catch you with one back later, you already know, you're like, well, it's fine, it is what it is. But nothing no one ever taking liberties on me, no.
Giving or getting a receipt, does the match get heightened right away from that?
There's been some times with some exchanges where it's oh, okay, all right, mother, this is how we're going to do it,
Do you like that? Or do you...
It depends on, again, it's definitely the opponent and crowd. Because, like, if it's a crowd that doesn't get into it,
Then-
or doesn't realize it, it's like you're killing each other for what? You know what I mean?
But if the crowd's getting into it, it's like, it's
yeah.
on.
And I think that's what helps amp it up. You know, it's just like if you're gonna get in a fight and everybody's like, oh, come on, come on, and start amping everybody up, it makes them more like, all right, let's go, let's do this. You know. But if you're getting in an argument and about to get in a fight and no one gives a shit, I feel like the adrenaline rush of like getting in a fight starts to die down a little bit. Like, oh well,
Yeah.
no one's caring. So,
Are there any receipts that stick out to you in your mind?
like, I can think of a bunch of times where I've gotten jacked, but it wasn't like a receipt. It was just like, oh, I got caught with something. Yeah, no, I don't think it's been ever in a time where I'm like, well, I guess I kind of shot on the guys there a little bit.
What does that mean? You
The-
shot on them.
So like just went in for real. But it was this really terrible lucha show. And it was in the middle of nowhere, Texas, and it was a 3-on-3 match, and we're calling for spots and whatever else, and the match just isn't going at all how we had called it, and the heels are killing the like. So a lot of people too, especially in the Lucha Libre too, I feel like a big problem there is nobody ever wants to like be a heel or be a face. Like the machismo there is too much. Where like the faces don't ever want to sell, they don't ever want to die down and sell, but the heels never want to powder. And then you're like, okay, well, what do we do then? Like you can't just both be face, strong, whatever. Anyways, and I feel like that's what was kind of happening here. We're like, they were kind of burying us, and then the match was going right. And if I get in there and I try to like take control of the match, and then they're trying to like go against it, and then they're not like, I don't say they're not selling, but they're definitely not selling and going how the match should be. So I don't know, tempers started getting aggravated, and so I freaking start stiffing them, and they're stiffing back, and then I just said fuck this. And then I remember too, I had just torn my MCL from working with Del Rio too at Triple Mania, and my knee was in this heavy brace. And I remember there's this huge guy too, he's freaking massive dude, and I picked him and shot him down, and then picked him up and slamming him like for real, tweaked my knee, and I was like, God. And so I got on top of him, and I wanted to beat the crap out of him. Instead, I just got into like oh my gosh, had an arm triangle, sorry, and I was just shoot choking him out, and then like his buddy was like sitting there trying to kick me off, and I was just, first he was like, work kicking me, and I wasn't selling it. Then he started shoot kicking me, and I wasn't selling it, and I get up, and I just literally, because this little dude literally just picked up and shoot threw him out of the ring, and then the other brother, because they were all related, came in, and he was like trying to like, okay, come on, let's fix this, and we went home, and then we finished the match. And then all three of them came into my locker room afterwards, and they started trying to go off like, oh, what, you think you're big badass, huh? You think just because you're on TV you're better than us? Like, no, because you three suck. I know I'm better than you. And tempers get heated there, and nothing happened, and they left. And then it was actually pretty funny because the smaller guy, the guy I threw out of the ring too, he actually came back and bought my 8x10 and t-shirt from me. He's like, hey, can I get a picture and a t-shirt from you? And then it was fine then, but that was the only time I ever got like really heated in the ring where I wanted to, cause bodily harm to my opponents for sure.
How was the transition from Impact to AEW?
Oh, it's great. I mean, well, I had a delay because I tore my bicep literally my last weekend at Impact. I tore my bicep, and then
Is that a recurring injury?
No,
Tearing your bicep?
no, it's surgically reattached.
But didn't you tear it when you were doing a indie match too, or was that?
Yeah, it was so I had an Impact show, then we had an indie match, and I had the pay-per-view. And at the indie show, I tore it. And then I was like, oh, my God. And I showed up, and I had it all taped up, and I tried to work around it. And I have this sweet little scar on my lip now from RVD because when he gave me the Van Daminator, my arm wasn't strong enough to hold it, kicked the chair out, and like the leg spun and hit me in the lip and ripped my lip in half. So, yeah, I was all sorts of messed up going out of Impact. And then I thought, too, I was going to get signed to AEW because now I'm all injured. I'm going to need surgery. But Tony was excellent. He hit me up, and he goes, hey, don't worry about it. I know you're probably stressed. Like, we'll still sign you. We'll still pay you. We still want you part of the team. He even offered to fly me out to Jacksonville and have his surgeon do it, but at that time you have a period window of like when you need to get it reattached, and I already had it set up. I go, no, I appreciate it, Tony. I already have it set up, and he goes, okay, well, yeah, just get the surgery. Don't worry, we'll sign you. We'll pay you whenever you're ready, and you're healed. Let me know, and we'll bring you in. So that was great. Like that's been the absolute best part about AEW is their overall treatment of us as actual human beings, not just performers or cattle. That's been incredible. So, and I think that just comes to Tony not only being a good human being too and a good individual, but also just being a fan of us all too. So he wants to see the kind of like the old cliche term a lot of people say, oh, you want to leave the business better than when you how you left it than when you found it. And I feel like he's definitely trying to put us all in a better aspect in that regard, for sure.
Was that your first realization of how he handled business?
Oh, yeah, because I knew from past experience too that like 9 out of 10 times anywhere else would have just rescinded the offer and be like, sorry, bud, go get that fixed, get that taken care of, and then maybe it'll work out later. Before you ask me the next question, I'm just gonna say yes, Melissa absolutely sucks at loading the dishwasher. Terrible. Terrible.
That's you. That's all you.
Oh my God. Like, she sent me a meme too about it, which is funny when she talked about it on the podcast of this, like there's always one person who loads doesn't care, and the other person's like, he's like putting it all perfectly, and he's like,
yes,
oh.
I saw that.
And he's like, oh, like it's like an art form. Like, yeah, that's like whenever I unload, I'm like, what is this? Who loads it like this? What is going on? And she's like, we never use a dishwasher because you use it for storage. I'm like, listen, we didn't have a dishwasher because I was just broke ass poor as a kid. So I was like, listen, I didn't learn it. I wasn't like some, oh my gosh, it makes sense to me. I look at it, it's like a Tetris game. You're just like, all right, let's just load it in perfectly. And I also can't stand running the dishwasher when it's not full. Like, don't put 5 dishes in there and run it. What is that? It's a waste. Just wash that shit with hands.
What's it like being part of a wrestling couple with Melissa Santos?
Well, Melissa's been great. And I never wanted to date a wrestler. Like, there's been a couple, I guess close calls and things where almost happened. We're like, no, I don't want to date a wrestler. And Melissa had her leeway because she wasn't from wrestling. I know she did a wild stuff, which I didn't know, but nobody knew her from wrestling. She wasn't from wrestling, so that was like a gray area. And she wasn't a wrestler. She's a ring announcer. And yeah, she was talking about that. When she walked by, I remember she walked by and she stuck her head into the green room real quick. We were all at like the guys, kind of like a makeshift locker room. And she go, hi everybody, good morning, blah blah. I was like, I'm looking and I go, I don't know who that girl is. And I look around and go, dude, who was that? And everyone goes, oh, it's the ring announcer. Because every and she was way too modest about it. Everybody thought she was smoking hot. Everybody wanted to be with her for sure. And I remember, and everybody's like, well, I think if anybody has a chance, though, it's probably gonna be Cage. I'm like, oh yeah, really? Why? And I talked to her a couple times, and she announced me, and I thought the way she said 5'9", this is because she liked me, and as she was saying too, like that little interview deal when they asked her questions, and they said, hey Brian, can you come film this stuff? And I said, oh sure. So I did like right after her, and I didn't know what we were filming or what was happening to the questions, and I'd give my responses. And we go out by the little craft area, and she's there, and I'm eating. And I go, oh. And I'm just lying. I'm just making up because I'm assuming they asked her the same questions, like who's your favorite luchador, who's your favorite, luchadoress, and whatever. And I go, oh, so they told, I'm your favorite, huh? And she's like, they told you? And I laughed. I go, no, but you just did. I was like, oh, I didn't know that. And she was like, oh, well, and she was like all nervous and shy about it, which was funny. And then we did go on the gym date, and that's how it slowly progressed to where we became a couple. But it's been awesome, and I feel like it definitely helps having someone who's been involved in the business to help understand and appreciate the business, and also obviously the schedule and me not being home, and and obviously us having a family now and everything else. But there is times where I love when she gets to go do her thing and do it with me. There's also times that I don't love that. So like when we were in Impact together, it was great a lot of times, and there's also a lot of times where I'm like, oh my God, I wish she had her own room. I wish she was like look, you need. I'm getting up. Like, remember the one time I got upgraded, she didn't. She's like, that's not fair. I should have the upgrade. I go, why? I got upgraded, not you. My status is better than yours. Why do you get it? And she was all like, and we were priority fighting, and I'm like, I'm thinking in my head. I go, hell no, I'm just trying to get out of here. And then I feel bad because now she's all mad. So I actually sent my food and my drink stuff to her because I already had my stuff anyway. So she didn't get to sit in first class, but she got the first class service.
Great husband.
There, see, she probably doesn't even appreciate that.
Do you think we'll ever see the two of you guys together in the ring?
I think so. I think we did do a couple matches like indie wise, like at bar wrestling, which was such a fun promotion. And her second match she was gonna do with me, she tore her ACL when she was training. Ooh. I know, she came back so fast for that. And I would love to see her do one more match. And I always tell her this. I doubt she probably will. But I was like, you don't want to go out on an injury. You know what I mean? Like you want to, like just in my mindset, if I did something I got hurt, I'd want to overcome that still. You know what I mean? Like if I was just messing around on a BMX bike or something, I got hurt. I was like, oh, why I want to go off that jump now just so I can land it and not like to overcome it. So like you got to do at least one more match. I mean, come on. And I would love for her to come and, I've always thought that if we did something, Del Rio and his ring announcer, with the hot sex chick announcing me, that would be cool. But maybe it's also almost a little played out. But I definitely feel like we'll definitely do some more stuff for sure. And I know she's been itching and to get back into doing more. And she has got quite a few cool things coming up this year already. So that'll probably help the opportunities come and make it happen.
How bad do you want to be world champion again?
Oh my gosh, everybody wants to be world champion. Not just me, everybody. If you're not in this business to be world champion, then I don't know what you're doing. Nobody's like I told Kai Greene, who's never won Olympian, I wasn't even trying to be insulting. I go, listen, no one trains for second place. And I was like, oh, no offense. Yeah, everybody wants to be world champion. Now, is it, the end of my career if I don't become world champion? No, I've accepted that. But like, absolutely, I would love to be world champion. I mean, at this point, I would love like any title, just because like even Taz said in his documentary, he was wanted some sort of major title just because it shows that the company put stock and faith in you. So I'd love a title, but more than that too, I there's just still several matches I'd love to have and programs I'd love to have with those matches, not just randomly, hey, you and this guy have a cool match tomorrow for no reason, which is great. Hey, we'll go kill it. It's fine. But I'd like to have some more like implemented structured programs with a lot of the awesome talent we have there for sure.
What can we expect from you in the next few months?
I mean, I've been ready. I've been wanting the ball. I feel great. You asked injuries wise, like I've actually feel healthier and just more mentally and physically fit in all regards than I have in a while. So I really, really would love some awesome stuff. I don't know where things are going or what the idea is. I mean, there's always like, rumors and this and that, and so some things would be awesome. But I mean, I'm ready for whatever it is, and I'm hoping that they'll have something good for here in town for Double or Nothing. I have the Epic tour in Australia. That's always a blast. And then hopefully by the end of the summer, you'll see me at All In London this time. So those are the main goals right here the next few months.
Hell yeah. I'm so glad we were able to talk.
Right? Yes, I know. I wanted to, I feel like there's something else funny I was going to say, and I can't think of what it was now. But yeah, it worked out. And when I was like, oh yeah, we'd love for us to be able to do it sometime, because I wasn't here when you interviewed Melissa. And they're like, oh, I'm in Vegas now. I go, oh, well, I'm actually home too, which is always a rare case too. So I'm like, we could try to make it work. So
yeah,
glad it did.
Thank you so much for your time.
No worries, man. No worries. And yes, there is, because we just got confirmation, there is a show going. It's already sold out too. It sold like in the first day.
Oh, wow.
June 1st, the Lucha Underground Temple.
Oh, it's happening.
It's the Lucha Brothers put that show on, and we just got confirmation that Melissa and I will be there. So
that's amazing.
I'm stoked for that. Like that's one's not, that's not a huge show, but for like sentimental reasons, like
totally.
I'm so stoked for that show, and because it also probably will never happen again. Maybe it will, but so that's I can't wait, and I don't know, how this set up. I mean, in a perfect world, I would love for them just to have a full Lucha Underground like reunion type of show situation. I mean, obviously it's not going to be like it was on TV, but I have no idea about anything else. But I know they booked it. I remember right when they announced it, and tickets went out, sold out that day. So
who would you want your match to be with?
I mean, realistically, I would love. I mean, as far as Lucha Underground goes, I would love for my match, since you touched on it, to be against Phoenix for sure. I mean, also because we kill it, but also it also would be great storyline wise for Lucha Underground throwback with Marty as well, since he was always like chasing Melissa. That'd be awesome, since those never happened in Lucha Underground. I mean, since I don't know who's gonna be on there, it might not even have any other Lucha Underground guys. I have no idea. So as long as I just have a fun, exciting match, and in that, because that temple too, one of my favorite. Like that crowd was unbelievably good. Like I can't say enough positive things about that show in general. I mean, now that I meet my wife there, but that was another great quote that I like of myself was, I never felt how I thought I would feel as a pro wrestler when I was 10 years old, wanting to be one. I never had that feeling of like, oh, how I thought it would be until I was in Lucha Underground.
Oh,
wow. That was even after I was in WWE and everything else. When I was in Lucha Underground, and even though I wasn't a millionaire or anything, a big superstar, but that finally gave me the feeling like this is what it's supposed to feel like. Like when I was 10, wanting to do this, this is what I thought it would be like.
What a cool moment.
So for sure.
Hell yeah. Brian, the Machine, thank you so much.
No problem, man. Thank you.
Lightweights, out. That was so good.
Right on, man.
Can I just
right
take
on.
a thumbnail of your face?
Yeah.